Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, racism and house paint. Grow up, The Office. I was a precocious child. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Racism and house paint. Sorry, this is a little long. If you want to skip the setup, you can just read the last paragraph. This happened where I lived in college. It was a very liberal/progressive city, which was one of the reasons I chose to live there, so this incident really stuck with me. This one neighborhood on the outskirts of the city was a bunch of old, but still in good shape, tract homes, with the majority of them being homeowner occupied, and had a primarily Hispanic/Latin population. Well, as home prices skyrocketed, this neighborhood became one of the few affordable places to buy a home in the whole county. My friend and her brother had bought their house while the prices were still decent and I was renting a room there. We are white but love the culture and are not trying to change it. It was the kind of place where on Fridays we would walk down to the neighborhood park where a bunch of taco trucks set up and eat and hang out with the neighbors. Everyone was very welcoming and we got invited to all kinds of cookouts, quinceañeras, and the first funeral I had ever been to that was a huge party with dancing and laughter that truly celebrated the person's life. Still one of my favorite neighborhoods ever. One day we are out front talking to the neighbor across the street, who is super nice and friendly. Suddenly this older white woman quickly waddles up to us and just starts talking. She doesn't even introduce herself. But I think we all know she is Karen. Karen is talking to the neighbor in that very exaggerated way that means she doesn't think he speaks English, so she must speak loudly with big gestures. This is just straight up racist based on his looks because we were speaking English when she rolled up on us. She tells him, not asks him, but tells him that it is time for him to paint his house. At this point she is doing over-exaggerated Karate Kid paint the fence gestures and saying, paint, you know. Paint the house. We are all stunned into silence with WTF. Looks on our faces as she keeps going. That light blue is no good. Shakes her finger in his face, no good, it's too bright. Shields her eyes from the house like she was looking into the sun, too bright, do you understand? Now, there is no HOA or city ordinance limiting the colors of the houses in this neighborhood, but none of the houses had any unusual or unique colors. These were tract homes with only about 5 different colors when they were built, and most of them were the original color or something similar. The neighbor's house was still the original color, so this light blue is not unique at all, it's literally one of the most basic colors and is on a lot of homes that were built during that time. Also, the paint on his house was in good condition, not peeling or anything. So, my roommate, the neighbor, and I all find our voices at about the same time, with my roommate saying, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Who are you?" And the neighbor going off in a tirade of very loud and fast Spanish, but Karen is undaunted in her quest. Realizing my roommate and I speak English, she starts telling us how she just moved in and she's trying to protect her home's value, and it's obviously time for him to paint the house, and she wants the neighborhood to have a certain color palette with more neutral tones instead of this carnival thing that was going on now. Yes, she pronounced it like the celebration in Rio, but over-exaggerated, and it was clear she had never been to Carnival or even seen pictures of Carnival because, again, the houses were mostly the same boring colors from when they were built or similar. My roommate and I keep interrupting her and telling her she is being racist. Nobody cares what she wants, the paint looks fine, she has no right to tell him what color he can paint his house, and this neighborhood's culture was established long before she showed up, so if she doesn't like it she can move because she shouldn't have moved here in the first place with that attitude. Suddenly, the neighbor waves his hands in front of our faces while saying, "No, no, no, no," and then pointing to himself, and that's when we realize the neighbor is acting like he doesn't speak English. Since roommate and I know he speaks perfect English at this point, we are just trying to contain our laughter waiting to see what he is going to do. Well, he starts talking to Karen in Spanish, the same slow, loud way she was talking to him in English, complete with big gestures and everything. Now I don't know Spanish very well, but from what I could understand he is telling her the colors of the houses in the neighborhood and how her house is blue, darker shade, and his house is blue, so what is her problem? Karen clearly doesn't understand and is getting more and more upset, but when she looks at us for help we tell her that we don't understand what he's saying either. Karen is fuming and we are trying and failing to contain our laughter. This goes on for just a couple of minutes before the neighbor's 10-year-old son comes out on their porch and loudly asks him if they are going to grandma's for dinner, in perfect English. The neighbor then turns to his son and says they are leaving as soon as mom gets back from the store, also in perfect English. He then turns back to Karen and starts speaking to her in Spanish again, and although I don't know exactly what he said to her, there was definitely some swearing and at least one not nice name to call a woman. He then says to us, "See you Friday for dinner," in English and walks away. It takes Karen a few seconds to realize what is going on, then her face turns bright red and she is just sputtering, unable to put together a complete sentence. We just walked away, still laughing. Now here is the malicious compliance part, I think. A couple of weeks later I'm out of town for a couple of days and get back very late at night. As I'm getting my bags out of the car I realize that it is very bright out. I know it's a full moon but something is just not right. I start looking around thinking one of the neighbors must have put in some walkway lighting or maybe even a flood light over the garage, and that's when I see it. The neighbor across the street had done what Karen wanted and painted his house, a beautiful bright orange. And I mean this thing was practically neon. Under the light of the full moon the house actually looked like it glowed in the dark, and that was why it was especially bright out in the middle of the night. I laughed so hard I was in tears. The next day, seeing it in the daylight, the color was actually more of a peach than a neon and looked nice, but for whatever reason it was glow in the dark orange at night. Some might even call it a carnival orange. It surprised no one that Karen turned her home into a rental and moved somewhere else. Grow up, The Office. I recently received a promotion that came with an office that was shared with 2 other people. The room has 2 desks on each side of a door into the hall. Another staff member spent a healthy amount of time in this office, but it wasn't their office. They had made a comment about now that a female had been promoted I was going to girl up the office, and I had jokingly said, "Yeah, let's make the whole thing pink." He laughed and said, "Yeah right, you won't do that." "Oh, won't I?" With approval from my boss I bought a $100 worth of pink paint, with my own money. Think Pepto Pink. Painted exactly half the office, my side, that color. Like a line down the middle. The clock was on my side of the office, so I replaced it with a pink clock. Rose gold stapler. Check. Vinyl wrapped drawers in pink. Check. Table on my side of the room painted pink. Check. If it could be pink, I made it pink. It was useful that my coworker was on vacation during all of this. Bought a pack of pretty pink flower stickers and put them anywhere I could. Tried to keep it classy. I was in the office when my coworker returned from vacation. It was very, very quiet. I was typing up a report and the keystrokes were so loud. I told him about a couple things that had happened while he was gone. He was polite. Finally, I asked him what he thought of the new decorations. He looked at me and said, "Oh, someone already told me what you did." I laughed and said that didn't answer my question. His response: "Oh, you don't want my opinion." He then grabbed his stuff and went to his own office. How's that for girling it up? Edit. Just to clarify, there was a lot more jokes on my behalf from them telling me it was good that there was a woman in the office now and the office needed a woman's touch. Also, my coworker and I are friends, and this was a really funny thing between all of us. I openly tease him about it now, and the other half of the office had already been blue, so now everyone calls it the gender reveal office. He is a great guy and definitely still visits the office. I was a precocious child. When I was 5, my mom enrolled me in swim lessons. The first classes were called tadpoles, as we were just getting introduced to the water. Now, one must realize something about me. I was taught that I had to use social niceties, i.e., be polite. At all times. But, I was also taught that people didn't get what they wanted, if they weren't polite. That applied to everyone. Examples of people not getting what they wanted because they were rude, were always pointed out to me as I grew out of toddlerhood into a school-aged child. So, I began swim lessons. Unfortunately, the lady teaching my class wasn't polite at all. There were no please and thank yous. No praise for doing things correctly. Only shouting and expressed aggravation. I think my teacher thought that I was stupid, because she'd tell me to do something, but I'd stand in the water waiting for the please. If I happened to do something, no thank you was proffered. Now, this abhorrent behavior really got my goat. So I waited. And waited. And this failed the class. Oh dear. I failed the class, so I had to do it over again. No one took the time to ask me why I failed. They just re-enrolled me. I failed again. Oh dear. I was re-enrolled again. Nope. No behavior change. So, there I go again. Failed. By the 4th time I failed the class, with no one bothering to talk to me, which I found annoying. Someone in the office figured out that I had failed 4 times. The only common denominator was the lady who taught that class. Guess what? The office changed the instructor. I was re-enrolled, and this time, I had a lovely, kind, and most importantly, polite instructor. I shone like a bright star. Please, thank you, and good jobs were prevalent. When my teacher asked about why I had failed the previous 4 times, I told her about how important manners were, and the bells began to ring. She told the office, and they had a good laugh. All I needed was an instructor that was polite. Then I was only too happy to comply with requests. I hope that my intrinsic stubbornness and precociousness caused the office to be more aware of the child's needs. Success happens when you communicate effectively. My 5-year-old self was patient enough to keep with the lesson. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.